Hey, what's up guys, it's Eric here, and today we're going to be building a high performance PC. Now I say high performance because the parts that I'll be using are tailored towards high performance builds, but the process that I'll be going through is pretty much the same no matter what your budget is. All of the components that I'll be using will be linked in the description below. The total cost of these components ranges between $1,500 and $1,700 USD, depending on where you buy them. For example, the i7 7700K CPU costs about $340 on Amazon, but you can sometimes find it on sale on eBay for close to $300. Throughout the video, I will suggest alternative components for a gaming build that will perform similar to this configuration but will cost less. These will be compiled into a PC part picker list, which I will leave a link to in the description below. The total cost of this configuration is about $1,200. So for the case, we are using the 460X RGB. It's a tempered glass case by Corsair. Carefully remove the front glass panel and a back panel and set the case down to prep for motherboard installation. For the motherboard, we have the ASUS full-size ATX Strix Z270E gaming motherboard. It offers a few premium features that I wanted, like onboard Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but definitely were not necessary. So I would recommend checking out the other motherboards for better values. MSI boards offer really good performance and reliability at a good price tag. For the CPU, we have the i7 7700K. This chip should be able to satisfy all your gaming needs and then some. If you just need enough power to run games alone, then a CPU like the i5 7600K will be enough. Note the little triangle indication on the CPU and the little notch on the side. Use these indicators to help you install the CPU on a socket. It's designed to fit flush in only the correct orientation. Make sure you do not touch the underside of the CPU. Lift up the latch on the socket and gently settle the CPU into the socket and reattach the cover with the latch. The plastic cover should pop off. For the RAM, we have 2 sticks of 8GB G-Skill Trident Z series for that sweet dual channel performance. These DIMMs are clocked at 3200 MHz. Push the lever down on the DIMM slots and seat the RAM sticks in. You'll hear the clicks when they are securely seated, and the lever should automatically lock up again. Note which DIMM slots you need to use. Sometimes this is indicated on the motherboard or in the manual. Next, install the I/O shield onto the case. Just snap the shield onto the opening on the rear top left of the case. This one can get a little tricky sometimes, where you just pop in one side and another side pops back out. For the CPU cooler, we have the Corsair Hydro Series H100 V2 liquid CPU cooler. This has a 240mm radiator. A liquid cooler is not necessary. There are many good air coolers out there and they'll probably be cheaper. The liquid cooler here comes with 2 fans, but these look boring, so we're not going to use these. Read the manual to find out which bracket you need to use. Insert the bracket into the holes on the back of the motherboard behind the CPU area. Consult the manual to see which standoffs and screws you need to use. Install the fans for the radiator using screws included with your CPU cooler. Here we are using the Corsair HD 120 fans instead of the ones that are included. Mount the motherboard onto the standoffs in the case. Use the screws included in the case to secure the board onto the standoffs. Some cases don't have standoffs pre-installed, so make sure they are installed before mounting the motherboard. Next, we will install the AIO cooler on the top, but we run into a problem. It didn't fit. The radiator we are using is a 240mm radiator, and the case we are using does support 240mm radiators on the top side. So I did some research and found that the 240mm radiators only work when you have low profile RAM like this one, so the Trident series that we are using are too tall. Not a big problem, as we can still mount it onto the front side. Once that's done, we can screw in the pump onto the CPU using the standoffs we installed earlier. Now you can connect the power from the motherboard to the pump using the CPU fan header. For the power supply, we have the EVGA Supernova 750W. This is a modular power supply. The components here do not require as much as a 750W power supply. However, I'm having it so I will have enough power in the future if or when I decide to run more than one graphics card. If you don't plan on needing all that extra power, or you just need to save some money right now, then there are many other cheaper alternatives. The minimum I'd recommend for a build like this is a 500W. Remove any shrouds in place before installing the power supply. If you have a modular power supply, connect all the cables you will need before installing the power supply. The power supply here does not fit, so we moved the 3.5-inch bay since we won't be needing it and will get more space for cable management. Secure the power supply to the back of the case using the screws provided. For the storage, we have the Mushkin Reactor 1TB SSD. I chose the SSD because the work I do can benefit from faster drive speeds. If you don't require fast read and write speeds, for example you're only building a rig for gaming, then the better value configuration would be a low capacity SSD for Windows and apps, and then a high capacity hard disk drive for all your games and media. This case has 2.5-inch spring-loaded slots for easy installation of the SSD. Here I just have to slide it in. Most other cases I would have to screw the drive onto the case or into the drive cage. Now I can put the shrouds back on and install any case fans we have left. Here we have a 6-fan configuration, 3 intakes and 3 exhausts. We don't need the front panel open anymore, so we can reattach that. We can finish connecting the fans to the fan headers on the motherboard. These Corsair fans have LEDs that are powered from a separate control hub. Here we have the tubes from the CPU cooler that may be in the way of our GPU installation, so we might have to wriggle the GPU around or rotate the radiator 180 degrees so the tubes rest near the top of the case. There are a few wires from the chassis that you need to connect to the motherboard. These wires are really small and usually plug in somewhere onto the lower right side of the motherboard. Use the motherboard manual to follow where the wires plug into. I would have included footage of this, but the camera couldn't catch it because my head was in the way, and I doubt you guys would want to see that. You can connect the motherboard power and CPU power now. The motherboard power is usually on the right center of the board, and the CPU power is usually located on the top left of the board. Prep for GPU installation by removing the thumb screws and corresponding slot covers on the rear side of the case. Push the lever on the GPU slot on the motherboard and insert the card. You should hear a click when the GPU is secure and the lever auto locks. Connect the power to the GPU. Once you're satisfied with your cable management, you can now reattach the covers and your PC is complete. I'm actually editing this video on this PC. The performance has been great so far, but the temperatures have not, so I'm probably going to be delidding the CPU. I hate Intel. Here we're running The Witcher 3 on Ultra Graphics 1080p. We get an average about 72 FPS. We can squeeze an extra 10 FPS if we bump the CPU and the GPU core up 200 MHz. Well, that's it guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my first video. Give it a like if you liked it, a dislike if you disliked it. Be sure to leave a comment down below. I'm open to suggestions, video ideas, or if you have advice for me. And click that subscribe button if you want to see more content from me or more content like this video. And see you guys next time.